All right, I'm just going to review a little bit of the reading assignment for this week, chapter 4, which is basically introducing you to what is a literature review. So here are some of the objectives of this chapter. And so it just sort of walks you through what is a literature review, how do you do it, and conceptually sort of what are you looking at doing. And just a reminder that the literature review is the final outcome of this course. So isn't an outcome that needs to happen this week or next week, but this is an introduction to this big assignment that will culminate as your final exam in the literature review. So what is a literature review? So a literature review is a written document that provides an overview of research related to your topic. So what do we already know about the topic that you're considering studying? It also sort of maps out the territory of the study topic, or sort of what areas have been researched, what are the controversies, how like are there, do groups of studies say different things, and so it kind of outlines what we already know, and it may also talk about the history, or it may need to contextualize a problem also. And so I've talked to some of you about your topics, and we've talked about, well, you may need to get some overall general data, like if you, for example, if you were studying childhood caries, you would really want to start with what is the incidence of childhood caries, and how big of a problem is it, and what type of data do we know, how many children experience childhood caries every year, and what are sort of some of the implications of that. And so sometimes you have to get some context or some history to your topic also. A literature review is also going to identify the gaps in literature. So you're not only going to talk about the previous research or what we already know about the topic, but you're going to identify what we don't know and where are areas of study that need to be done. And then it'll talk about sort of your research then filling that gap at the very end. And it's important to know that your literature review really is answering the so what question. So why are we studying this? Why do we care about this? Why is it worth the time and effort to do research on this topic? So you have to sort of make a convincing argument almost that this is an important topic and really outline why it's important. You may be familiar with this framework for searching. And so the PICO question, this may help you sort of narrow down some of your search strategies, depending on what your topic is. This works really well for like clinical trials or clinical types of research, maybe not so well in some of the other research, but you likely are probably familiar with this, P being your patient or population, I being the intervention, C being a comparison, and O being an outcome. So the example they give is our population is women over age 65 with type 2 diabetes. The intervention is patient education, and the comparison would be to no patient education. And then the outcome we're looking at is, does it improve hemoglobin A1C levels? And so if that's sort of your research question, that may be some good terms to start with, or sort of a good question. Yours may not fit nicely into this PICO framework, and that's okay. But I just wanted to share this with you as an option to be thinking about your question. When you're searching, sometimes you want to search things about patient education or hemoglobin A1C, or women over 65 with type 2 diabetes, and all of these pieces kind of come together, and you narrow it further and you narrow it further, and then you have your very specific topic here. Your literature review may cover all of these areas, and so you may talk about what's the incidence of women with older women with type 2 diabetes. You may talk about what A1C levels are and what they indicate, and you may talk about interventions of patient education and have they been effective or not. And then you're going to tie those all together with your particular research question. Sometimes it's also a good idea as you start to search to sort of outline or make a mind map or some type of visual related to your topic. And so this topic here is pain management. And so in this, when they were searching pain management, they talked about different types of pain. And so there's different types of pain: acute, chronic, postoperative, muscle, neural, other. And so they've sort of outlined what this is. And then they've focused it on a different types of like surgery. So they're focusing on maybe something postoperative pain. But you may talk about all of these things in your literature review. Then another subject would be drug therapy. So, different types of drug therapies for pain management, and then patient education. And so looking at the different types of patient education. And so you may have all of these different topics within your literature review. You really have to thoroughly examine the topic. What you read in journals are very shortened versions of literature reviews, because journals usually have a limit on number of words that you can submit. And so we want you to dig a little bit deeper than a journal article would and really become an expert and understand your topic. And you do that by writing your literature review. Remember, when you're searching the databases that all of you probably have searched Google, and so you are familiar with searching that. Sometimes you have to, think about the keywords that you're using with a particular, topic. And your research question will be a very specific thing, but sometimes you need to search a little more broadly. So, you know, nursing has a lot of great nursing education literature. And so if you're looking at something related to dental hygiene education, you may want to search the nursing journals, and you may want to search, other types of, disciplines. You may want to search in medicine, you may want to search. And so don't do a search and be maybe specifically to dental hygiene. And if you don't find anything, don't think there's nothing out there, because there could be something in other disciplines that you can learn from, that you could talk about. Are there other health sciences areas that have studied this similar problem? And so that's always a good source to look for, to better understand the literature. You can search, for lots of different sort of subject headings. You want to think about, are you using the right terms? As you continue to read, you may want to use other terms, or if you see other terms used in the literature, that can always help you in your search. And remember that searching is not just I'm going to sit down one time and search. You're going to maybe search, pull some articles, do some reading. You may go back and search different terms. You may search in different disciplines. So there'll be multiple sort of searching. It's sort of an iterative process, not just one single moment in time. Remember to use like ors or ands if you're having trouble sort of either narrowing down enough, that it could, if you're looking for, community-based education in dental hygiene or nursing, and you could, use the term or to sort of broaden out some of the things that you have done. There is a link in the modules to information about searching for the library. So if you need a little bit more detail, you can search that sort of library tutorial, and that has been linked in some of your assignments, so you have access to that. So here are sort of the steps. As you can see, there's a circular piece right here. So you'll think about a question, determine what databases to use. You may need to talk with a librarian, or in our conversations about some of the things that what places you're searching. You're gonna put those terms into the database via keywords, and you're going to sort of then evaluate the results of your search, get your relevant citations, save them, document, evaluate the quality of the study. Sort of this annotated bibliography sort of gives you looking through them, summarizing them. And you'll make sure, that you get full text of all the articles and synthesize ideas. And then you may need to redo the search. I assume you would probably go through this process several times before you're actually writing your paper. And so this sort of breaks it up really, really step by step. But this circle of things here on the right, you would go through this circle probably many times for your literature review. So databases that you may want to search, PubMed or Medline, CINAHL, PsycInfo. You can Google Scholar things. You can go to Google Scholar and search things. You may find things on there that you may not have access to. You could put those into the library database and see if you have access to them through the library. But a lot of times when I'm initially doing something, I'll just do a quick Google Scholar search of things. Web of Science and Scopus are also other good places to look, and they're, again, searching through the library, there's good information from the librarian about how to do this. Also, another note on this is that be sure that you are using going through the library database, and that you are connecting through the OSU library, because you will have access to many, many more articles than if you were just searching on PubMed, from without access to the library. So you should have access to almost every article that you want. There may be some you don't have access to, and you can talk to the librarian about getting access to those. And you should never pay for an article. So don't pay for any of your articles either, because likely the librarian can help you acquire that article. So when you're ready to write the literature review, and this will be later on, so there's going to be a few steps along the way that I'm going to have you do, but sort of remember, it's a summary of what's known and not known in the research topic area. You're going to talk about previous research. So you're not just going to this study said this or this study said that. You're really going to synthesize, what do we already know? So if there was 7 studies about community-based education and dental hygiene, what was it that we learned from those studies? And then, making sure you sort of then articulate that and not just regurgitate the findings from a bunch of other studies. You'll start with a brief introduction, sort of what's the research question. You'll, summarize sort of the results of the review, discuss key points. References obviously are important in this, and include the gaps. And so we'll have you write an outline for your literature review. And so we'll be talking about sort of structure and organization as part of the assignments that we do. So that's sort of a small summary on writing a literature review. These assignments are walking you through completing the literature review. So you're not writing literature review today, you're not writing it tomorrow. We're going to do some assignments on the way that will actually help you build your literature review. I look forward to talking with all of you about your topics and about what you're thinking and about your search strategies. And I'm here to help you if you're having trouble or need to talk through some things. A lot of times that's helpful, just to sort of talk through what you're thinking or some of the challenges that you've had. So hopefully this was helpful, and I look forward to meeting with you about your topics.